Välkommen till Vardagsprepping, en helt ideell podcast utan reklam för dig som vill stärka din beredskap och ha kul samtidigt. Förutom podden kan du även hitta oss på YouTube och på bloggen vardagsprepping.se, men även om du vill skänka oss lite bidrag så finns vi såklart på patreon.com/vardagsprepping. Idag har vi en pratglad gäst, Patrik.
Ja, det har vi.
Men väldigt intressant.
Hur kan vi veta att han är pratglad?
Ja, vi spelar in introt innan, efter. Men
Vi glömde det i förväg. Vi glömde att göra det när vi började.
Ja, det var lite strul med inspelningen, men vi har nu då med oss Ralph Hensel från Convar. Everything all right this morning?
Yes.
Are you in the office?
Fine here, yes. Yeah. Catching up with the last paperwork, which you only can do on a Sunday when it's quiet, when you don't have emails and calls.
Yeah. Okay. So welcome to our show, Ralph. It's a pleasure and thank you for taking the time to be with us.
Be there.
We would, I don't know if you know anything about us, but we're a podcast that aims for to normal people. And we want them to get more prepared for everyday crisis. Like it doesn't have to be the end of the world.
Okay, very good.
So our mission is to make people in Sweden aware of that we actually really need to be more prepared. And we were in the Deutsche Welle documentary. So we also have reached some European people, and we're really happy for that. But please tell us about your company, Convar Foods.
Okay. Well, Convar Foods is on the market since 2012. 2012 we started in Europe, so we have production offices in United Kingdom and 2 production facilities in Germany. And when we started the business, we had been more likely like an online shop on distribution, and we used the standard products what you had there that had been energy bars. This has been freeze-dried powder. And what we realized very quickly in 2013 was that most of these products have been developed for emergency cases in third world parties, like these energy bars, what you had there. They gave you the energy, but they had nothing to do with the taste, what we used in Europe. So that is a complete different thing. I mean, you won't die, you will survive, but we realized very quick there is a different need. Third world countries do have a different need and on emergency products than we do have here in Europe. So what we did then is the first thought was, because we had a lot of freeze-dried products, we recognized freeze-dried products are very light. You can store them for a very long time, but the problem is they're not ready to eat. You have to prepare them, so you need water. In most cases, you need hot water. And we realized that this is one of the biggest problems. Then we started to develop the ready-to-eat products. And what we saw there is we have been confronted very often with the information that, but you can buy the tins in a supermarket. And what we realized is in the supermarket, you don't have complete ready-to-eat meals. Normally, you're going to have meat, you're going to have sweet corn, you're going to have beans, all these things. But that's nothing, it's not a complete meal. So you always would need to prepare, I don't know, noodles or rice or something else. So what we did is we started to develop ready-to-eat products, put them all in one can, have your sauce, your meat, your noodles, and then you just open the tin and you can eat it cold or warm. We have to say, if it's cold, like room temperature, you can eat it. It's like a cold pizza. Everybody did eat cold dishes, and they're very good. It's difficult if it's very cold. If you have minus degrees and you're going to try to eat a tin, well, then the taste is not as good. But that was the main thing. What we did is, so Convar started to develop a lot of food. So what we did is we opened production plants across Europe. Since 2021, we also own a production plant on powder products. So we also do freeze-dry products. And what we realized is the need on the European market is a totally different than on, for example, on United States or in a third world country. So that's when we started to develop products that may not be even necessary to survive, but they will give you a much better and higher standard, a better quality, and a bigger choice. And that is what Convar does. So we develop continuously new products to try to provide a good food standard for the demands on the European market.
We have often and for a long time recommended people in Sweden to check out the food that are available on Conserva. Mm-hmm. Is there a difference between Conserva and Convar?
No, well, Conserva is our trading platform. So that is our store. Convar Foods is the group. So Convar has been established in 1962. So normally we come from the military sector. Mm. So the Convar group had been in the 60s till the 80s an exclusive service partner for United States Army and Air Force. During that time, we had been a U.S. company. In 1989, we have started to open an office in United Kingdom, and that was a time when we then opened up for civilian services as well. And from that time on, we started to develop different areas. So we have data recovery, we have repair and service centers, and since 2012, we have the food section. So Convar Foods is a main group, but we have many daughter companies like Converis, Veris. These are all companies, they belong to the Convar Foods group. So Dosen Bistro, for example, is one of the brands we use in tinned products, while EF Emergency Food is a brand we use for the emergency food section.
Yeah, my son, he really loves your lasagna from Dosen Bistro. So yeah, but that's really interesting. And I mean, if you browse around on conserva.de, you can see a lot of things about food, not only food, but you have mylar bags and you have ways of preserving your own food as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes.
So when it comes to EF, the basic emergency food, what are your thoughts about this concept? Because the samples me and Patrick got from you, they are more like the ingredients. So what was the thought about that concept?
Well, the EF, we call it the basic. This is normally what everyone should have at home. Since a couple months, for example, we started to pack salt and sugar into the EF Basic program. I honestly, when the team came up with that, I thought, I don't know if there is a usage for, because everybody has sugar and salt at home. So why is the need to have such things in an EF package? Well, what we did is we started to put sugar and salt into the cans, and we realized that there was a huge demand. And when we started to check with the customers to understand why do you buy sugar in an EF can, which is more expensive than if you buy it in a paper bag in the supermarket, was very straightforward. The people said, well, it's easy to store. It's the packaging of the can guarantees you that you do not have to worry about to get the product wet, to get it destroyed, to have insects coming inside, all these problems you have in standard paper bags. So what we realized is that there is a demand on taking the can, put it aside, and then you don't have to worry for the next 10 years. We have shelf life up to 15 years. Some of our products go up to 25 years. And this is what the people want. They in Germany, for example, we always hear even some of our government agencies still do recommend you should use a rotation on products. So normally they say you go to the supermarket, you buy the stuff, then you're going to use the oldest one, and then you fill it up with fresh ones again. The problem is that is a project or a concept that was set up in 1950, 1940. The thing is, it has changed. Everyone today, we don't eat tins and canned food products every day. We go into the supermarket, we buy fresh products, we put them into the freezer or in the fridge, and this is what we eat. It's not like you're going to eat the lasagna, what we have in cans, that this is a daily product you consume on a daily basis. So the rotation system does only work with, I don't know, sweet corn, beans, all these things that you are used to consume from a can. But all the other things, bread, we all eat fresh bread. Nobody has canned bread at home. So the thing is, these rotation system does not work today, not in that kind of world we live today. What we can do is you can buy specialized products in special tins, you can put them aside. If you're lucky, you never will need them. You never have to open these emergency food. It's the same like if you have a first aid kit. I have a first aid kit in my car, I have a first aid kit at home, and I'm happy if I never have to use it. But if I have to use it, it's there. And that's exactly the same with the emergency food. It really don't make sense to have an emergency stock for a 12 months period. What you need is an emergency food supply for at least 2 weeks, maybe 30 days, because in a crisis, that will guarantee that everybody will have a food supply. There's no need you have to rush out. There's nothing you have to start thinking about in the crisis. And within 30 days, we all hope that things will catch up and get normal in a quick way again. But I think this whole emergency concept, we have to understand. It's just a preparation. It's like to have a first aid kit. If you need it, it's there, then you're lucky. And if you don't need it, well, then you're lucky either, because you didn't need it.
Yeah. So it sounds like you and the company are really, well, you are preppers in some way. It sounds like that. Well,
when I started in 2012, I come from the computer section at our department, and I had been working for over 20 years in data recovery. Data recovery helped me to understand that if I told people you have to back up your disk drives, everybody said, yeah, I will do this. And when you ask, do you back up your disk drives on a regular basis? No, but I will do. But when they have the data crash and they cannot access the data, then everybody came and said, well, is there something you can do? Data recovery is a very expensive business because it's very complex and it needs a lot of technology. And the cheapest way that you never will need a data recovery is just back up your data, back it on multiple devices, and then you save. But if you don't, and you have a loss, well, then it's getting very expensive. It's exactly the same on emergency food. If you prepare, the worst thing that will happen is if you invest into a 14-day supply, you're going to spend anything between 100 and 300 euro. So the worst thing that will happen is if you don't need it, you spend in 15 years 300 euro. But you save. But if you don't have food because we don't have electricity, you cannot go to the shop, you cannot buy any things because you don't have cash, your credit card is not working, the bakeries cannot make bread, you don't have logistics. So if you run into that problem, you would be happy if you would have this 300 euro supply, a very free area of at least 14 days. So yes, The thing prepper is when I came onto the market in 2012, prepper was mostly like a negative thing. Yeah. Prepper was somebody who always thought about the world is ending. In States, we're running our business as well, and this is standard. At hurricane season, everybody goes into the supermarket and buys emergency food supply, water, and prep. That's the first thing that is bought out. When I started in 2012 and the people said, oh, what are you doing right now? I said, well, I'm working in long-term, long storage food. Everybody started smiling and said, yeah, but I mean, why do I need this? And I always told them the same story. I said, well, what will you eat in an emergency case? And everybody comes up with and says, oh, I have noodles and rice. And I say, yeah, but if you don't have electricity, how are you going to eat noodles and rice? Oh, I didn't thought about that. But not thinking about this still didn't help to move the people into the right direction to get a stock. The boost came 2016 when the first time the German government said, well, it would be good to have an emergency stock supply for at least 14 days. That was when we really had an increase on sales on the products into the civilian market. And then COVID was the next boost. Suddenly people realized there are products you cannot buy in the shop. In Germany, for example, we had the problems you couldn't buy the toilet paper story. So no toilet paper available, and everybody got scared. And they said, yeah, now it's bad if everybody buys toilet paper. But the thing is, if you would have a pack with 24 rolls at home already now, you wouldn't have a shortage. You wouldn't have run into that problem. We only run into this problem because people suddenly realized, oh, there is no toilet paper available. And they start to think, well, how I clean my butt if I have no toilet paper. And exactly the same happens with food. When COVID happened and we had the first lockdown in Germany, we never had a lockdown. After the Second World War, there was no lockdown ever in Germany, at least. So people couldn't think about that things like that would happen at all. But what happened is they realized, oh, now I cannot get bread. Now I cannot get any food. I cannot get any milk because it's difficult with the supply. It's difficult to go out. Some people have been scared. So even if the shop had the products, they didn't want to go in the shop where many people had been. So that was the second boost. People suddenly started to realize. And what we realized at that time is it's not the prepper, the classical person who buys this supply. It's, let's call it the midshift of people. It's the doctor, it's a teacher, it's a construction worker. Everybody realized, oh yeah, that's right, it's not nonsense. And I mean, you won't see in Conserva, we don't sell any weapons, we don't sell any things to protect your property because we don't believe in these dramatic sceneries. We believe everybody needs to be prepared. You need to have some food and drinks at home. So it's also good for the community because if I don't have supply at home, that means the first aid response teams, they have to distribute food to many people. And if you see here, we are located in a town, Pirmasens, in Germany, southwest. It's about 45,000 people. And now just think, we have about 200 people working in the fire department and police areas. And if we don't have food supply tomorrow, it's hard for me to believe that we will have the possibility to provide food to 40,000 people within a week's time. So that will not work. So everybody needs to be aware, if I have food at home and I'm good for at least 2 weeks, that will take off the pressure also on all these emergency response teams.
Exactly. And that's what we talk about as well, that I mean, and it's a duty to our country actually, because we have a let's say it's not a law, but it says in the law that every citizen should be prepared for at least 1 week. And as you said, if everyone has food, you don't need to stock up on guns because everyone is, yeah. So because you wouldn't need to go and bash someone's door in to get food if you already have it.
Exactly. There is no, and again, it's for yourself, it's for your family, and it's for the community. And there are other countries, they have requirements that you need to stock food, but in common sense, everybody really should know. I mean, we always confronted with these things that people say, yeah, you're only gonna have panic messages, which I understand. A lot of the shops who provide emergency food provide drastic headlines. So if you read these headlines, you really think you're close to a world ending, and the problem of food will end. The supply of food will end tomorrow. They really urge you in capital letters that you do it now. And these kind of messages are going on over and over again, and they do have a negative impact. It's the same like with preppers. For example, we provide different food groups like tinned products, like freeze-dried products. A lot of questions is, why do you develop freeze-dried products if you have ready-to-eat meals? Well, all these food groups are for different needs. For example, if I'm on the run, if I'm on the move, it's difficult for me to take cans. Cans are far too heavy. One can is about 450 to 500 grams, including the can. So if I have 10 cans, I'm walking around with 5 kilo in my backpack. If I take freeze-dried products, it's very easy. They're very light. I just add water and then I consume them. So if I'm on the run, if I'm on the move, it's easier with cans. If I store food supply in my car, I need a food supply that can be stored during winter time so it can freeze, and in the summertime when it's hot. This won't work with cans, because if cans are stored below 0 degrees, you have the risk that they're gonna pop open. So you need this mix depending if you're on the run or if you stay at home. You need different food supplies. And the thing is, today you can buy these emergency backpacks. These are things you can get in Germany. And the thing is, an emergency backpack, as it is packed today, is mostly done for the wilderness. It's like you go fishing, you sleep in a tent. But most of the people live in cities. So I cannot go fishing in a city. That will not work. Why do I need a fishing equipment in an emergency bag? How do I even leave a city if I don't have any energy? I cannot drive with my car. I have to walk. How long do I have to walk from Stockholm till I be in the wilderness where I can sleep in a tent? So I think we have to think there as well. You need a city backpack. And a city backpack is a total different thing than you might need if you live in the wilderness. And that's exactly the same. And the problem is, we see people from the city, they take these courses, how to survive in a forest. Honestly, if someone have never hunted before, it will be very difficult for them to prepare a deer. First of all, they have to catch it, and even if they have it, it's difficult if you've never done it. So I think this sometimes gives you this negative effect. If you watch TV, you see people, I don't know, 5 people, bankers, doing a course in the wilderness, how to survive. I'm pretty sure this will mostly, in most cases, never happen. People have to survive in the city. And how can they survive? Where can they get water? You would need to train the people that in your heating system is water, maybe in the waterbed. So this is the things you need to know if you live in a city, and there are different things. If you're on the countryside, I think it's quite easy. You can light up a fire, but how are you going to do this in a house where 400 people live? Where do you going to put the fires? How will that work? So I think, and that gives sometimes these negative things, because if I see that in a TV, then the people say, "Oh, look, these are crazies. They walk around in the forest and they eat worms and things like that." And this is more negative. I mean, yes, military forces need to do this, maybe one or the other. But if you see Ukraine right now, there have been thousands of people on the move. And if you see how they move, they have suitcase with full of their stuff, which they try to carry on. They try to see where the documents are. So we learned from that. It's important. You need to have all your copies. You need copies of your passport, of all your retirement plans, your pension funds, all these things you might need later once. You need specially protected. This is why we have these Mylar bags. You can put the documents in there, you seal them, and they protect it against humidity and any water damage and things like that. But I think it's important that the mainstream needs to understand emergency is nothing crazy. Emergency preparation is for your own safety, your safety of your family, and the community you live in. And I think that's the most important part people need to understand. And we have to take all this craziness and world-ending theory out of that.
Yeah. And that's exactly what our show is about. So if we translate our show, it would be everyday prepping. So how to prepare for small things that might happen or big things that are realistic. And we have stated now that we also need a new TV show, which is urban survival, how to survive in the city.
Well, it is. We started to develop backpacks and bags because we realized that this is a problem. It's the same like 2012 when you only had freeze-dried products and everybody thought that is the kind of food you need. And we did understand in a city you have totally different requirements than if you live on the country.
Absolutely. Yeah. The basic products you have, are they created in Germany?
Yes. Yes, all the products we do today are produced at the two facilities. So all products, we have a production plant close to Pirmasens where we do all the wet products, so the ready-to-eat products, the canned products. And then we have a second production plant in Zimmern, which makes all the powder products. And also these crazy things like we have now mustard and ketchup.
Yeah. And the barbecue sauce, which is so good. Me and my kids, we love it.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, this is a side effect. I mean, when we developed the products for emergency cases. So we thought what kind of products you need. But for example, the barbecue sauce, we realized right now with the ongoing energy crisis, we didn't understand when you eat barbecue sauce, it's normally in the summertime, and then you have to buy a whole bottle. The problem is, if you look into all the fridges across Europe, you will see a lot of ketchup and barbecue bottles parked in there because someone ate once a barbecue sauce, and then it stands there for another week or 2 weeks. And then after 6 months, you start to see this crusty area around the bottle at the top, and it starts to look not very nice. And if you manage to empty the bottle, then you will realize that you're not able to get all the stuff out of it what you paid for. Because, I mean, you have a glass bottle, so you put it upside down to get the ketchup, you open it, it all splashes over. So it's a very messy thing. So what we start doing is we develop this barbecue sauce, ketchup and mustard. With the thought, you can store it for a very long time, and you just prepare it when you need it. And we realized it's also let's call it luxury product for emergency food. Honestly, we will not die if we do not have ketchup or barbecue sauce in an emergency case. But it will make life much, much more easier. It will help us to calm down. It will help us to eat the standard foods that we also, or at least this kind of food that we ate. And I think in a crisis, it's very important that you stay in used routines and you have this luxury to eat good things. And that is the difference between EF food that we produce here in the European market and EF food that we develop for third world countries. It's a totally different need. In Africa, I need an energy bar, no matter how it tastes. It needs to give you energy. It needs to have temperature stability, and it must be distributed very quick and easy, and the storage must be perfect. In Europe, we have the same similar bars like Convar 7, but they have a taste because it's not about surviving. Now, honestly, if we don't have any food at home and we run into a crisis for 2 weeks, we will not die. Because, I mean, in Europe, most of the people will be able to survive 14 days even without food. But it will be a pain in the butt. Just try not to eat anything for a day and you will realize how difficult it is. In a crisis, it will be even more difficult, but we will not die. And that is the thing I said at the beginning. In Europe, we have a different demand on emergency food supply. I mean, the food supply EF emergency food develops is on a very high standard. It's like a convenience food. It will guarantee you a luxury. I mean, we have beef stroganoff. We have pork with creamy sauce. This is luxury. I mean, this has nothing to do with bare surviving. It will guarantee you that you have a pleasant time in a hard time. And we know from the pirates on the boats, if the food is bad, you always had trouble on a boat. And that's very important. Make sure you don't get trouble at home. Make sure you have a good food there. And with the basics, it will work. And in basics, we have everything. If you see, you have pre-cooked potatoes. You have all the different vegetables. We now start a new line with dried fruit. So the newest products we have now, for example, is marmalade as instant powder. We have a spreadable cheese as instant powder. So you see the developing is ongoing and it's mixing. Emergency food, convenience food, and outdoor food is merging. Products we develop for outdoor foods are now also in the emergency food market and also the opposite. So, yeah, I think it's like a supermarket. If you go on EF food, you will see you can buy everything. You can buy instant tea, and not, in the past, the tea, the instant tea you can buy was normally orange tea or these teas with additional tastes. But we also developed an instant black tea. So it's just a plain black tea. Now people ask, but I can cook my tea and then I don't need. But the problem again, if you don't have energy, you cannot cook. But the instant tea, you can use cold water to prepare the tea. There's no need to add additional energy, and you will have a black tea cold, but you will have a black tea.
It's amazing. All the products you come up with the freeze-dried products, those are all I think you said they are also produced by yourselves, but in a different facility. So the freeze-drying process is that can you explain that?
The freeze-dried products right now running a hard time because we have these high raise on energy costs. So we have to develop also new techniques and additional techniques. But for example, the freeze-dried products, you take the product, you take out in a process the humidity in the product so that all the humidity is gone. I mean, the secret on producing products for long storage is very simple. Take out the humidity and cut out the oxygen. If you have that, then you have already the basic rules to store products for a very, very long time. And on the freeze-dried products, there are two categories. Once you take a product, you cook the meal, and then you run it through a process where you take out the humidity, and then you have like a freeze-dried product. You will do this, for example, on meat products and things like that. But instant products are a step more. Instant products are products that are developed with lots of ingredients mixed together and make sure that they will be, when you put water on it, they will be consumable within a 10 minutes time. And there we have products you need to put hot water on. And that's important also for people to understand. If you have a can which says you have to put hot water on, it might even work if you put cold water on. But the reason why you have to put hot water on is because there might be in the product microbiologic products in that you will need to eliminate when you put hot water on. So it won't help you. A lot of people say, when we say, yeah, eat a ready-to-eat meal, you can eat it hot or warm. They say, yeah, I take that product and I put, it also works with cold water. Even some manufacturers recommend and say, yeah, you can run it with hot and cold. But that's not totally right. For example, if you have chicken meat in one of your products, you do need hot water, because in the process of freeze drying, you won't get rid of all the nasty things. You have to put for at least a couple minutes hot water above 70 degrees. So that's a very important thing. So mostly military will use instant products, what you can use cold and hot, but then you should never find any beef or chicken inside of that product.
Interesting.
Where does the majority of your customers come from?
I would say the biggest market for us today is Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. In Switzerland, we also do have our own logistics centers. And then the followed markets are, for example, France, Benelux, Belgium, Luxembourg, and the Netherlands. And then Sweden is catching up very, very strong. We have a lot of customers from Sweden. We also have partners in Sweden who provide our products to Swedish military. So there is a high demand. And when the Ukraine situation happened, we also had a lot of orders coming from East Europe companies. But Germany is still one of the biggest markets. We do have about 80 million people living there. So even if we just would have 10%, that would mean 8 million people would need to have an emergency supply for at least 2 weeks. And I guess we're far away from that situation still. It has to be that people understand emergency is like a first aid kit, and it has nothing to do with crazy people who hope that the world is ending soon and that zombies will walk around. It's just, they have to understand. And I'm pretty sure, I hope it never happened that we do get a blackout in Europe for a period of time, but I'm pretty sure if that will happen, all people will understand. If you look into the news today, it's very funny. They say, well, you have to prepare, put a storage supply, but it will most likely it won't happen that we get a blackout at all. Well, the question is, why should I tell people to prepare for something that most likely will never happen. It would be the same like if somebody tells you, well, it would be good to have a first aid kit in the car because about less than 1% will have a car accident where you need a first aid kit, but don't worry. I mean, it normally will never happen. They do it the opposite way. They say by law you need to have a first aid kit, even if the chance is less than 1% that you ever will need it. And I don't understand why they do it with emergency food, that they try to say, well, it's good to have, but, well, honestly, you don't really need it because, so I think this is odd. They told us on COVID, they said, at the beginning, you don't need a mask. Then they told us, well, yeah, you can use a homemade mask. And then later they said, well, you need a mask class 2 at least, or a medical mask. Well, the thing is, they said, because there wasn't enough masks in the market, they said, well, there is no need. And I think, politicians need to be more honest. They have to tell the people what are the risks, what are the problems that may occur, so that everybody has a chance to prepare. Because last March, we had a problem. Within 3 days, we received an order volume of about 6 months. So we had in 3 days the order volume in the store that we normally get through 6 months. And the problem is we only show products in our store that are available. So we normally have a 3 to 6 months supply in the store, but we cannot ship more. Even if we run 3 hours shift, we just can send the volume of 3 days in 1 day. But the problem is, if you get an order volume for 6 months, you will have delays. And we had many customers, they had to wait more than 4 to 6 weeks before we had been able to ship the product. And that only happens because people panic then. So it's important. There is no need to panic. If you have an emergency stock, get it now, get it next week, get it within 2 weeks, then you don't run into that problem. It's the same like toilet paper. If you have 24 rolls at home, there is no need to run into the supermarket and get the last toilet paper because they're running out of stock. This is what the people need to understand. It makes your life easy if you have an emergency supply. Don't get crazy. Don't buy, a year's supply. That makes no sense at all because nobody knows what will happen after 12 months. But anything between 2 weeks and max 3 months will help. That is a safety buffer.
Yeah. We talk about the buffer as well, with both money, food, and water. So you always should have a buffer. So, how would you describe prepping in Germany? Are the people prepared, or are they still thinking that preppers are crazy people?
No, it really changed. Like I said, 2012 preppers have been crazy people thinking about the world ending. Now, honestly, we have to say, a prepper and a prepper today are two different things. Yeah. For example, the real prepper, they don't gonna buy EF emergency food, because a real prepper, they gonna make their own water filters and they do all these things and they will find ways how to survive and they try to look for the cheapest solutions. The preppers today, the doctor, the teacher, the construction worker, they do not consider them as prepper. They consider themselves as security thinking people. They want to make sure that their families are covered. So what they do is they are, yes, prepping, but they do not consider themselves as preppers. And this is what changes now. We have a totally different customer base. We have customers, professors, doctors, standard people who are going into this market, and they don't want to have anything with this negative thoughts. They don't want to have this world-ending and zombie preparedness. The only thing what they want to care is that, can I take care of my family for a period of time if some situation happens? And that is the thing. And this, yes, we get more. That is the reason why Convar is growing. Our business is growing month by month, because more and more people who have not thought about are now start to think about it. And your shows and the TV shows and that people talk about it, even government, that they talk about it, helps on that. In Germany, the government is having big campaigns telling, hey, prepare, always with these little sentences for something that may never happen, because there's no risk on a blackout. But please prepare. And this is what people are doing right now. They start looking into this. And we had an open letter published through many newspapers for the government, where we said, very good for the government that they give this information. They also have informations like cooking without, or prepare meals without electricity. That's very good. But the problem again is they give you a list and say, well, this is what you should buy: 3.5 kilo noodles, 2 kilo rice. What a nonsense. If I don't have water and I don't have electricity, what will I do with noodles? I mean, you can eat noodles uncooked and you will not die. But nobody will do this. I mean, this is stupid. And that's the reason why we said, why do you tell the people things like that? Tell them to buy canned products or something else, but not noodles. They said you should buy fish. Yeah, but if I have fish in the fridge after 3 days, I cannot eat it anymore. So you see, it's a lot of nonsense still going out there. Another big nonsense what we always hear is from some YouTuber who analyze, who show products. They say, this product is only 2 years shelf life because there is a legal binding on that. That's totally nonsense. Every manufacturer can give as long as shelf life as he wants if he can guarantee that the product will be at the end of the shelf life in the same condition as at the beginning. And most manufacturers cannot, because the problem is if you use a tin, you will only get a 2-year warranty from the manufacturer of that tin. A tin manufacturer will not give you a longer shelf life, because why should he? I mean, if he wants to give you a longer shelf life, he has to use a bigger material, he has to use different production processes, and that will make the product only more expensive. And for a convenience food, there's really no need, because why should I use more material in a tin? Because it's made to be eaten within a very short period of time, and that's the thing. And this is also the reason why products from the supermarket, they may survive, they may not survive after 10 years. Nobody really knows, because it's a standard tin. It's not guaranteed, but honestly, if you don't want to buy special emergency food, well, then buy standard tins. This is even better. Have a tin at home from the supermarket that is 10 years old. If you be in a crisis, that 10-year-old tin is better than having no tin at all. Yeah. The product might taste different. I mean, meat will be gray. It won't have the structure as meat. But this is only a tasty thing. You can eat it. You will not die as long as the tin did not blow up. There's no problem. You can just enjoy it. That's fine, and you will get still your energy in it, because if a product is in a tin and it's get old, it will not lose this kilocal on energy. A lot of people think this is gone, or vitamins. They won't disappear. I mean, where should they go in the tin? There's no way. They cannot disappear the product. They will be inside. You can eat them, but the thing is, it won't taste as what you have been used 10 years ago. It's different prepared, and it was not prepared for that situation, but it's something you can eat. The same like dry noodle. It will work. Dry rice, not prepared rice, you can use like candies. It's not good, but you won't die. But if you want to live good in an emergency case and you will have a happy time, then you should use some of the products like EF Foods, specially developed exactly for that case. And what we learned today in the show, that Patrick even loved our barbecue sauce.
Absolutely. To all our listeners, you can watch me and Martin prepare a meal each with these products on our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Very good. Like to see that.
Yeah, you will. Because this is one of the parts. This episode is one of the 5 episodes we record for the podcast during Sweden's National Preparedness Week.
Okay.
And with that week, we will also be publishing on YouTube when we make our food with your products.
Very good. Very good. There's also one thing on the foods, for example, is the bread. I don't know if you had the bread already once, the canned bread. There's a totally different process, because the standard canned bread is traditionally baked in the can. And it's getting very dry. So if you have a canned bread normally and you open it, you will see that the bread itself is very dry. You need a spread on it to eat it, or you need a soup to put it in so that it's tastes good. The bread that Dosenbistro developed is a totally different technique. We do not produce it in the tin. It's produced in a different way. It's sterilized and then it's packed. The difference on that is that the bread is very juicy. So normally, if you take out the bread and you take it out the tin, and then you have to leave it out for about 10 minutes, because we do all the products we do with sourdough. And the thing is that will help us to eliminate the microorganisms. But therefore, because it's locked up in the tin, if you open it, it will smell sour. But so if you take it out, you leave it there for about 5 or 10 minutes, then the odor will go away, and then you can cut it and eat it. And it's really difficult. If you just put it in a toaster for 20 seconds, that it's get a little warm and crusty on the outside, you won't recognize the difference if the bread was baked fresh from a baker. So these are the things we go. You see, it's more like the lifestyle, the comfort, to come very close to the non-crisis times. Yeah. So if you eat a bread, we want that you have the similar feeling, and not that you eat an emergency bread where you taste already it's an emergency. So you don't have to look out the window. You will know just if you eat this bread, you know there's a crisis outside. So that's a difference what we do. So when you have the chance to try one of the breads, then would be nice to hear what you think about it.
Yeah, we will. I think we covered all the questions that we had for you, but we always end our sessions with our guests with what do we call it? We call it tormenting them, right, Patrick?
Yes.
So we want you to make. We have a preparedness scale, and we want you to put a figure on your preparedness. So the scale goes from 1 to 10. If you are on 1, you don't have any food. You always get food delivered to you by different companies. Mm-hmm. If you're a 4, you can easily sustain your family for a week. And if you're 10, you're probably a movie hero, because you wouldn't be needing any help from anyone. So entirely self-sufficient. Mm-hmm. So where would you put yourself?
Anything between 5 and 6. Mm-hmm. Like I said, normally I think that you have to be prepared anytime between 2 weeks and max of 3 months. Yeah. So this is what I'm prepared for. I'm prepared for at least a 2 months period is what I have, and that is limited to the shelf space I have. But I have good connections to the warehouse in Permacet, so I don't have to worry as much. But the thing is, again, I mean, if crises go much longer, I think it may won't not even help you, just to survive in a time where you have food maybe for a year, but everything around you. It's not like we live isolated. I mean, we all live with neighbors, we all live in communities. And I mean, what I learned is if there's trouble ahead, communities start to work together much stronger again. And I'm pretty sure that the human beings can stand most crises if they work together. The only thing is we have to make sure that the pressure is gone for the first couple weeks so that not everybody needs help. And I mean, I have chicks at home, I have a pork at home that will help us to get fresh eggs and meat. But I never would think, you have to live it. It's not like we live, I don't know, in Sweden, maybe all the way up in the north where nobody comes around and you have to stay for weeks and months alone like you see it in films or in Canada. That's not the case. I mean, we will have water supplies and every town will have access to some kind of water resources, but not at the first day. That takes time. In Ahrtal, in Germany, we saw that, I mean, in Germany, nobody thought that things like that could happen, this flooding that killed so many people and the destruction happened there. But what we learned there, it took in some areas over 2 to 3 weeks before the rescue teams have been able to provide help, food to all these people. So that means you have to be prepared for at least a period of time, 2 to 4 weeks, where you can live independent with no need to have food supplies from the external world. And then in that time, there will be ways where new food supply will pop up. But I think that's the most important thing. So we should not make people crazy that they, think I have to live now for 6 months out of the box. But they have to understand, be prepared. I mean, I have a first aid kit, and that's good for small hurtings. I can fix, I can do, but I mean, I cannot make an operation, and I would never start preparing to have an operation kit at home so I can do this after hours in the basement. That would be nonsense, but to be prepared and just find solutions. So yeah, I would say my level would be 5 to 6 if you would consider that this would give a thing for at least 8 weeks period of time, and then I would trust again and hope that the system will be catched up. Yeah. And if not, I have the key to Permasense, where we have a warehouse with millions of rations, and I hope it'll still be there then.
So yeah, great. I think it sounds right. But Ralph, thank you very much for joining us today. It has been a pleasure. Thanks for testing the products and feed it to your family and get good results. Yeah. So that's very nice. And I hope you will have the chance to work with Dirk to see all the new crazy products we have. And you will be able to see, and it will help to get a feedback also from your listeners. This helps us. We always keen to understand what does people would like to see in the market, because it's getting now more and more to a standard, and maybe in, I don't know, 5 years or 6 years, it will be a standard like a first aid kit. People will have an emergency food stock at home, and it just will be a standard, and it's not like they consider it. Today, all the parcels we send are non-branded, no label on, because customers still afraid that people will think they crazy because they put an emergency stock at home, and that is nonsense. It should be standard. I mean, people buy today stuff in sex shops, and they walk with bags with the name of the sex shops in the city. They should do the same with the emergency supply.
Standard.
Yeah, you should be proud being a prepper or a person that actually is thinking about their family.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I agree.
Very good.
All right. So thank you, and to our listeners, as always, take care, prep on, and stay safe.